Good afternoon, everybody. How are we all? We're back again. This is episode number 20 of Overdose and Chill. And very special treat for you, joined by Nick Macey over in hot, sticky and sweaty and lockdown Singapore. Nick is the founder and CEO of Uncharted, a product which I'm very keen to understand and learn more about in the fintech space. So Nick, how are you?
Doing amazing. Todd, thank you so much to you and the team. Really looking forward to spending some time with you today.
Good stuff. So guys, if anyone's got any questions, if you drop them into LinkedIn or Facebook comments, wherever you're asking, they pop up on my screen. I can throw them at Nick. Pretty much an AMA, so throw it out there. Right, Nick, I know pretty much, even though I come from a financial background, I know nothing about insurance. And it seems that you've kind of changed the game on this. So we've got fintech, we've got SaaS, we've got insurance. Talk us through the product, man, and how all that stuff hangs together and where you've broken the machine.
Sure. Yeah, it's a really interesting market. I'm about 5 years into trying to understand what insurtech is myself. I started it here in Singapore, the journey working for a software company where we were building some platforms for the likes of Manulife and working within the kind of fintech and slowly the insurtech market. And really there's a couple of key trends that we noticed. And, obviously in banking and e-commerce, technology and SaaS in particular and cloud have really changed the way that products are sold, changed the way that businesses think about scale and think about customer engagement. And the insurance industry is really just at that tipping point right now. So it's a really big market with a lot of systems that support the way that the industry has been operating for the last 20 years, which has been typically fairly paper-based, fairly people-centric, using a lot of legacy type technologies. And so what we've done is really taken a blank sheet of paper to that and focus on how we could help expose insurance products into emerging digital channels like e-commerce or like direct-to-consumer affinity type distribution. And we built a system not only from a software perspective, but also from a business model around helping the big guys adopt modern technology and start to operate in the digital economy.
So this is kind of in the gold rush, you're selling the spades, right? You're the enabler of that process. You're not selling your own insurance.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's obviously two ways to approach the insurtech phenomenon. One is disrupt and one is to enable. I think there's been a lot of news recently about the likes of Lemonade, obviously some very incredible valuations coming out of those businesses going after the disrupt angle. Our position is you've got a $6 trillion market with very strong balance sheets and a lot of excellent distribution that's currently in play. So rather than trying to disrupt anything, if we can find a way of enabling them with an infrastructure as a service, a platform as a service, and take a piece of the action, there's just significantly more scale in that opportunity. So I like to think of us as an enabler, disrupting nothing, competing with no one, and really just trying to go in and help the industry modernize.
Amazing. And when you were looking at this problem, is your background the business problem, or were you just finding a reason to build some tech? What was kind of that epiphany moment that drove you into the world needs Uncharted?
Yeah, so from a personal standpoint, I guess I'm the kind of typical entrepreneur. I look for arbitrage opportunities. The insurance industry is one of those opportunities. Clearly, software is famously eating the world. It's not doing that in insurance yet. And yes, absolutely, it was a business focus. I think if you take the problem statement from a technology standpoint, you end up building a bit of a Me Too platform and looking to solve the way that the industry is operating today with just better tech. If you take a business approach to it, and I'm Canadian, so I use the analogy of kind of skating to where the puck's going to be, not where the puck is.
The old Gretzky quote.
We look at, in the next 4 or 5 years, as finance gets more and more embedded into value chains, how is technology going to enable that? So it's a business approach and then bringing a technology capability to that. And the tech itself is going to change. It's a constant, especially when you're looking at open source software and infrastructure, it's a constantly evolving landscape. So we're trying to use best in class, cutting edge, but not bleeding edge. The insurance industry is risk adverse. No one wants any blood, but it needs to be, kind of at the front end of enabling them to compete in what's becoming a very competitive landscape.
So was that starting as a bit of a side hustle for you, or did you drop everything and throw your whole life at this?
Drop everything, throw the whole life. Absolutely. Okay. This is an all-in for me. It's a very it's a very crazy experience starting a business, Todd, as you know. It becomes all-consuming, for better or for worse. Lots of sleepless nights, and I've got a young family as well, so this is a family investment for sure. But definitely an all-in, and what I'm seeing now is an opportunity to make this something which hopefully can build a great business for many years, and give us the ability to do some pretty cool things.
So in if you go back to that moment of time when you choose to start the business, how do you rationalize the concept? Is that pulling a group of guys around you? Is it going out to get some VC runway? Because you must have gone through these, with kids and careers on the line. How do you make that pragmatic leap?
So we had a little bit of an interesting start. So I worked for a software company in Singapore. We were building risk management platforms for banking, gaming industries. We had about 80 or 90 folks here in Singapore building these systems, operating them at scale, kind of nuts to bolts infrastructure through to design. And there was a management buyout that was attempted on that business, and it didn't go well. So we kind of got called into the office on Monday morning, and I was trying to scrape up some cash to become a part of that MBO. And we said, look, it's off. Everyone's getting fired. Thank you. And that was really that moment in time where it was, option A, print out my CV and go find a job. And option B was to look at it a little bit more critically and say, well, look, we've got a great customer base already. We were doing about $4 million of revenue. We've got a fantastic team. We've got a common goal and an understanding, clearly an opportunity to proceed with this. So I went out, and through a process of about 8 weeks, I raised $1 million, took 15 of that team, and started Uncharted March 2nd, 2017.
Incredible. So where do you go to raise $1 million without telling us all your LinkedIn profiles?
No. So, Singapore, it always surprises me how amazing the network works here in Asia, and specifically in Singapore, and through a couple of introductions, I met a family office here in Singapore, a gentleman who, invested in a lot of different types of kind of young businesses through to mature real estate and mining type investments. And, I took looking back, a fairly terrible PowerPoint presentation, a couple of slides and a business plan, a couple of people, and I sat across the table and I pitched and shook his hand, and he got in his Ferrari and drove the other way. And I was the proud owner of a business that I thought was worth a lot of money, but was really just a hope and a dream and a starting point.
So how on earth did you come up with that valuation on day one for what's $1 million worth of a good idea?
It's pure capitalism, buyer seller. I've got something to sell. I need $1 million. How much does he need? So we shook hands on a deal that made sense at the time, and it proved out to be he was an excellent partner. He's still a shareholder today. He's supported the business with some capital along the way, and we've managed to turn his money over many times. So I think I hope it is a good investment as well.
And that's the only round of investment you've done, or have you done a B and a C through there?
No, so I actually did a couple of things. We've raised $11 million to date, about 15 million Sing. So I actually, we went on that journey. We were really still a consulting company for a couple of years. We built platforms for Prudential. We built platforms for FWD insurance. Continued on with Manulife. Did a project in the London market with the Hyperion Group. And we did about $10 million of revenue building the systems for those clients. And then I set up a separate company that was going to be the SaaS platform. That was the core insurance platform. And we started to build that in 2018. And at the beginning of this year, we merged those two companies together and turned it into one business, platform as a service business called Uncharted. And we raised a Series A, which was just over $5 million. And that's really just all from the management team, some investors that are heavily involved in the business. So no VC funding. It's all kind of family office and internal investors.
Incredible, man. So you've got this product, you understand the network. What's that journey of taking a SaaS product from amazing concept to getting those first couple of big logos, that kind of cement your space in the industry? And I guess, do you focus on just Southeast Asia, or have you kind of spread your wings global from day one?
Yeah, it's definitely a global market, and our approach has been to sell into regional and or global stakeholders. Typically on the business side, the CEO or the COO or the head of distribution, the head of the business units, because we're solving a business problem for them with software. Then obviously go through the process of procurement with the IT folks and the risk folks. But the process of doing that involves a hell of a lot of patience. These cycles take 12 months, sometimes longer. You've got to go through an enormous amount of due diligence. You've got to build relationships across all different functions and find ways of aligning interests and understanding deeply the problem statement they're trying to solve with the software.
So that's quite a long sales cycle, I imagine, right, Nick? It's not a quick sell and spin it up. This is a heavy legal.
A short sale would be 6 months. A long sale would be 2 years. I've got examples of all of the above.
Okay.
For sure. But the clients that we're going to be rolling out with are giving us kind of 20 or more markets to launch in. So we've got team members in 14 markets now across the world. About 55 or so individuals work for the company today. So we've doubled in size since February when we did the Series A. And we're launching today in 6 markets by the end of this year. We're live in Canada, live in Singapore, going live in Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Africa, and Europe are on the roadmap for 2021. So this is a global play, and these are large contracts with a lot of potential. It's up to us to kind of lean into that, and we're raising money to do that right now.
So do you have a rationale for that geography, or is it more where your clients are taking you and then you piggyback that process?
Yeah, so you know this as well as I do. Early days, you go where the money is, for sure. And for us, the insurance market is specifically within where we operate, which is affinity type distribution, focused on small business customers, general insurance products, the products that are fit for digital distribution. Asia Pac and North America are the big growth markets. About 84% of the growth in the insurance market comes from APAC and North America. The market itself is growing, but those are our focus markets, and that's where a lot of our footprint will be. Today, a lot of the premium volume sits in North America and sits in Europe. That's where the maturity is. But we've got some incredible footprint now going out into Southeast Asia, which I think is going to pay big dividends in 5, 10, 15 years' time. And these economies really come online and penetration increases from the 0.1 or 1 or 2% that exists today from a GDP standpoint.
So does that mean you're spinning up local teams in those locations, or can you still run this from one centralized crew in Singapore?
So our team is fully distributed. At COVID, we used that as an opportunity to say, look, yes, most of our engineering team sits here in Singapore. We've got a couple of engineers in Europe, one in Sweden, onboarding a guy in Germany right now, a guy in South Africa. But the business itself can operate fully distributed. We're building software in the cloud. We're deploying it in local markets. And so really everything can happen from online, which is amazing from a talent acquisition standpoint, because we've now been able to say we can go where the best talent is and find the best talent and bring them online. We do have local business development presence in the markets we're focused on. That's important. Shaking the hand and face to face is still a big part of business development in the insurance industry. But from a delivery standpoint, it's global.
Incredible. And for those that are listening and wanting to build a SaaS product, and it's obviously the flavor of the decade, right, in terms of disrupting tech, what are those pillars that you really need in the organization? Is it this conceptual leader, tech governance, sales? What's the mix? What's that perfect mix that a similar entrepreneur to yourself should be looking for to hit the market at the speed you have?
Look, I think what's worked for us is first of all being focused on deeply understanding what it is that our customers are looking to do with the software, because ultimately that's the best kind of first party research you can get. And those early customers, for better or for worse, their fingerprint is on the DNA of that platform. And our job is to go in and try to discover how their business is working today, but not let that influence too much how we design the system, because they need to use this system for the next 5-10 years. And we need to build something that isn't client-centric, but enables our clients to have the best technology. And that means that ultimately you're trying to build a multi-client kind of global platform using the influence of the customers that you've got. And that's a very complex balance and a very kind of fine line to walk between building something that's can enable the market and market ready, but delivers incredible value for the uniqueness of your customer. And so the core skill set around client management, so we call them client services directors, but our client services directors sit in those rooms and work with the business analysts, the engineers, the architects, not only on our side, but on the client side. And there's typically 25 people or stakeholders or so involved, and try to help us navigate that line between what the product roadmap should look like, what our client is looking for, and what we develop first, because, resources are scarce. Time is something which, keeps on marching on. So we need to constantly be reevaluating what goes into that product roadmap. It's a very complex problem statement. And, as someone who, feels like they haven't had a job for the last 4 years, I find an enormous amount of pleasure and occasionally frustration in trying to get that right. It's a very unique experience for sure.
So are you getting to a point now with Uncharted where, let me ask it a different way. Are you still involved in every decision and direction the platform takes? Or have you got to such a point in scale now where it's starting to become its own beast and the platform moves forward without you necessarily having to touch every decision point?
Yeah, luckily, I am not involved in every decision anymore.
Okay.
There's a few members of our team that will be very happy we've reached that point of maturity. Look, I probably know more than I need to. I detail, it's the little things that kill you in this business. And so I obsess over the details. I know Jira tickets that I probably shouldn't know, but my job is to make decisions at that level. My job is to try and step away from that noise and help the business focus on the things which are important and urgent at an executive level, and make those kind of directional decisions now. My job's changed, almost every month as we've been growing so rapidly. We've gone from kind of 10, 20 people last year, 50, 60 people now, on track to be 100. So when I wake up in the morning and come in to what's now the office down the hall, my job's remarkably changing as the business changes.
And how do you, because I've struggled with that as well, that letting go process and that deep trust process. How do you rationalize that? And is it okay, ties cut, hands off? Or I'm imagining in my world, we're in a service industry, so you can catch failure. In an insurtech, fintech world, there is zero room for failure, right? You can't be rolling on that platform. So
true. That's very true. We're touching data, we're touching core business operations. We're working with clients that expect us to deliver quality, and we do our best to make sure that expectation is met. I have no problem letting go. And the reason I'll say that is I'm a firm believer that, the way that you grow an incredible team is identify what you're good at. More importantly, identify what you're not good at, and find people that can complement your skill set with theirs. And you create this kind of overlapping network of individuals who are all trying to solve the same problem, all focused on the same vision, but bringing their specific expertise to that problem statement and complementing with, the best ideas. So we try people that are experts in what they do and then trust them. And if they're making mistakes, give them the benefit of the doubt, and then eventually, if necessary, find someone that's got deeper expertise in that area to come in and fill that gap.
Absolutely love that, man. I share that sentiment of that we hire exceptional people not to tell them what to do. We hire exceptional people to tell us what to do with our business, right?
100%.
Yeah.
I want to be talented.
Yeah. So with the whole intensity and passion that goes into, living vicariously through your own brand, what's your disconnect mechanisms, man? How do you disconnect and recharge and go again?
I don't.
Poorly.
Do you have any ideas? You know what?
This sounds really, really strange. The one thing I found that really worked for me, and it sounds like I'm getting way too old too soon, Nick, but was gardening, right? And it was this stupid reason, which was my kids had got into doing organic gardening, and I suddenly realized when you had your hands in crap, you couldn't be looking at your iPhone, right? And so you were actually fully disconnected from what was going on, and it forced me to go and spend some time with my kids. But yeah, I think I've put on probably 5 to 10 pounds for every year I spend as a CEO. So the BMI to job title isn't good.
Look, jokes aside, mental health is the one thing I speak about. Making my job is to make good decisions. If I'm going mad and I'm burnt out and I'm tired, those decisions, the quality of those decisions is going downhill. So I use meditation. I use isolation tank, flotation tanks. I don't know if you've ever heard of these, but
are you going to tell me you've got one in your apartment, or are you going?
I don't. No. I go to a nice place down the road. I enjoy Sundays is the day I cook dinner. So I get in the kitchen, have a couple of beers, cook dinner. But it's tough, I'm always on. My brain is focused on making sure that the business is working, because I feel a deep amount of responsibility for ensuring this goes right. There's a lot of people invest a lot of hours, time, and resources into making this business a possibility.
I think before we came online, we were having a quick chat on that model of the shared ownership structures, right?
Yeah.
It's something which I found very valuable, was that if you leave yourself in these equity positions where you become, there's sort of 75, 80% single owner of a business, you genuinely have no one to share the problems with. So we've gone through a really heavy dilution and brought in our management team. You've had some of those same things happen to yourself, and you felt that that's changed the kind of the quantum of passion on it's not a job. This is equally my business as much as Nick's.
100%. So to start off with, we've got about 30 or so individuals who own the company. No one majority shareholder. Those individuals are mostly involved, if not day to day, as employees of the business, are involved in the business development aspects, sit on the board, etc. And that does create an incredible environment where we're able to, collaborate on what's the direction, how are we going to measure success, how are we going to execute on it. Creates great accountability across the leadership team, across the management team, etc. There was an opportunity when we did that Series A to distribute some of that equity as well, and we opened it up to the employees, and we had 15 of the team come in and put their own cash to play. In some instances, a couple $100,000 of cash and buying stock in the business. So when I sit in a room, we're discussing a feature, we're discussing, how to prioritize a client release or prioritize something within the business. I know I'm sat across the table from shareholders, which evens the playing field. I might be the CEO. It's my job to help us get to consensus and sometimes make tough decisions, but I'm talking to partners and I'm talking to people who have a vested interest in getting this done right. Our CTO is one of the biggest shareholders in the business. So when he tells me something can't be done, I know it's true.
Yeah. And with that accelerated growth, and It sounds like you'll be talking, high three figures in a couple of years. How do you maintain that quality of talent? And I'm guessing you've got a bit of a closeted advantage there of being completely remote and distributed. So you can have a Swedish and a South African developer, right?
Yeah.
Where do you find that talent for you though? Is it looking just at the specific tech, or finding people who really want to work in insurtech? I've never had anyone ask me that. I'd rather work in insurtech, but I guess the passion is more for the tech and the SaaS environment, right?
So, look, I don't think anyone, 5 years ago, insurtech really wasn't even a thing.
Yeah.
I remember the debates of, is it insurtech with an E and insurtech without an E, ridiculous stuff. So
just start the Wikipedia page yourself. Yeah.
So I think, first of all, I'll go back to my earlier comment around having teams which fill the gaps of my capabilities. Recruitment, talent acquisition, and management of finding the best talent is a skill set that not many people have. We're lucky our head of people is amazing at going out and really selling the brand of who we are,
mm-hmm.
and selling the opportunity for someone who has a similar career ambition, has the right technical skill set to come in and add value to what we're looking to fill in the role. But we very, very rarely go and recruit against very specific, job descriptions or very specific roles. We're much more flexible. What we're looking for is smart people with core skill sets to come in and add value within the domain that they operate in, and have that kind of multifaceted experience or multifaceted approach to the problem statement. And so we've got an eclectic bunch of really smart humans that show up to work every day and solve those problems. And we've been very lucky at having the ability to go out and attract talent now all over the world with COVID. So when I think about our brand, I think it's all about people, and whether those people are potential talent or the team that we've got, partners, clients, investors, it's all people. And so this brand's got to resonate with those people and just manifest itself in different way. Either you're working with us as a partner, or you work with us as an employee, or you're a client, or you're an investor. But it's a people to people relationship.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I think the biggest thing there is good talent attracts more good talent as well. And it retains good talent. Good people want to work with good people. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
So
we try to use that as much as possible. We've got kind of incentives in place for referrals, and then actually, I think the last 6 people we hired, I think at least 2 of them, if not 3, were referrals from the internal team.
We have exactly the same kind of cadence, and the best results come from a personal referral, because you're not going to refer a dickhead to your boss, right? And
unless you are one.
True that, yeah, because you're literally picking the person you want to work with. Yeah,
for sure.
So clearly, Nick, you are you must have a crystal ball of an entrepreneur that you plan to have this beautiful disruptive technology just ready in time for COVID, right? And I'm presuming it's done good things for you, and you had all the spades in a row at the right time. So I'm assuming that is this the launch pad for Charted, or is it an accelerator? That's what I'm was it kind of trickling and then COVID just made it go crazy, or is that just the perfect timed accelerator to move things forward?
Yeah, definitely.
And I guess the follow up to that, does it go backwards after COVID finishes, or is this a complete change now?
Of course not. Never backwards. Yeah. We've got no time for that. Look, I think the insurance industry, so there's a couple of macro effects here. One, you've got an industry whose customers are demanding a better and a different experience. When you wake up in the morning, and here in Singapore, I need to go from A to B, I phone a Grab. That experience is fantastic. When I need to do banking, I get on the app, I can send money, within a couple of seconds. Those user experiences have been solved despite all of the compliance and the headache and the infrastructure problems. And part of the reason that those problem statements have been solved is because in the last 5 years, cloud has become accepted and even advocated for by regulators as being, a very secure way to operate your technology. software, open source software, and the ability to get access to fantastic technology and operate distributed. These are phenomenons that just happened over the last number of years. And so those customers that are getting that grab experience or that digital banking experience or online banking experience, then they go and buy their insurance product. And I just had this experience with a home insurance company in the Canadian market. And the user experience doesn't just grind to a halt, it pisses you off. It's painful, it's horrible. And so my expectations are, look, I can book a flight online. Don't need to talk to anyone. I can fly to New York and all of that just works. And online banking supports it, et cetera. Why is my home insurance why is it so painful? So you've got these kind of macro catalysts pointing towards the industry. And then COVID happens. And all of a sudden you can't meet face to face. Lloyd's of London has got, all of their underwriters are struggling to get back into Lloyd's, and that's completely forcing them to look at the market and say, how are we going to operate in this new normal? You've got procurement cycles that have been crushed because getting CapEx approved in this market is a nightmare. No one's got tons of budget to spend in COVID. People are looking at, trying to, manage their spend, but hit revenue targets that often businesses fallen off. So you've got all of these macro catalysts that have then moved towards COVID, just accelerating that. And we were 3 years into our development cycle. If this had happened 12 months ago, wouldn't have been ready. Yeah. If it happened 12 months from now, I think, the market might have matured a bit more. But, what we're in this amazing position where we raised money 3 days before the world fell off a cliff.
Wow.
We had a phone to the investors and making sure no one was pulling out their equity out of the stock market to buy my Series A. And so we came into COVID with the maximum amount of cash runway, with a bunch of long, the tail end of long procurement cycles with some of the big brokers and carriers we've been working with. And we went into a world where I could hire anyone in any market, and it's just been incredible. So, our business has grown, it's doubled in some metric almost every week over the last couple of quarters. And, our revenue team, geographic growth is all accelerating. How long that goes for? Unfortunately, I know I don't have that crystal ball, but I plan on taking advantage of this as much as I can.
And you ride it as long as you can. So is this a bit of an arms race? Is there, 2 or 3 other similar products in market and everyone's kind of chasing to the same destination, or have you got a leap?
So, Mark Cuban has this saying that, wake up every morning and pretend there's some guy on the other end of the world that's trying to kick your ass. I absolutely don't think that this problem statement is something that other people aren't out there trying to solve. It's a little bit too obvious. But I back our team. We've got some great contracts with some great clients and some great traction, and I think we are in a fantastic position. But there's a very interesting kind of phenomenon here where a lot of the incumbent providers of technology into the industry are still selling core systems. They're still selling ledgers. They're still selling the way that the industry operates today. And by the time that technology goes through another round of digital transformation and, another, consultant makes another $10 million in kind of running that program, what we think is happening is the market is changing, and it's changing towards a world where insurance product is going to be embedded. It's going to be priced on real-time data, and it's going to be actually something which solves a very specific pain point within different value chains, whether that be e-commerce, whether that be logistics, whether that be manufacturing. And so what we're trying to do is develop a solution that enables that economy, that digital economy, to get those insurance products from the brokers and from the carriers and from the reinsurers and embed them into the way that market's moving. So we're working towards that. And so I don't spend a lot of time focused on what the competition is doing, but I'm desperately aware of the fact that time is marching on, and we've got to move quickly for sure.
Yeah, so I think speed is everything when opportunity arises. For ourselves, we were in a similar situation coming up to COVID with a possible investment, and we kind of mutually walked away from that because investors got nervous, and we actually wanted to change our investment thesis because we saw an opportunity to go faster. They wanted us to go slower, right? And so I think that strength of leadership and understanding when the market opportunity is right there in front of you and just laying the hammer down is critically important. So sort of last question for you, Nick. Future state, what do we see? Can I go and plan for an IPO and get my pre-allocation lined up, or is this the kind of product where you see that one of these big incumbent institutionalized players just is going to have no other opportunity because you've broken their business, so they're going to have to kind of come and M&A with you? Where do you see it all leading towards? Because you strike me as very independent in that mindset.
Yeah, look, I think it's the way that I think about, what's an exit strategy or what does the long term look like. Number one, it's about keeping our options open because we don't know necessarily where capital markets are going to be. There's obviously a lot of big things happening in the world right now, not all of them reassuring. So we're looking to focus on growing the business to produce enough free cash flow that we can be in the driver's seat on what we do as far as growth. M&A is probably going to be a big part of our growth strategy in the future. We're working very hard to build a strong balance sheet. We're going to be moving the business towards profitability in the next few months, leaning into the growth again through the Series B, and then getting back to profitability in about 2022. So sure, potentially public markets. We'll try to bring investors that bring us the ability to go after the big opportunity and definitely not pump the brakes. But I'm solving the problem in front of us right now and keeping all of our options on the table for what the next few years look like.
And just one last question, because I'm really, really curious on this, and this is sort of CEO to CEO. Overdose is a service business. We run from our month-to-month free cash flows, right? We don't have investors. We don't have debts. We don't really have a runway, right? There's no kind of concept of that. The concept of sitting there saying it'll be okay, we'll be profitable in 2022. I wouldn't be in business if that was our model. I guess what I'm framing the question here is, how do you kind of mentally rationalize that stress in building a product where you say it's okay because we're going to be profitable in 2 years' time? I struggle to get my head around that just as a pure concept of being okay not to be profitable. Is that something that you've learned through previous jobs, or I know that's just SaaS and that's how it's supposed to be done, but does that not weigh on you that you're kind of burning a runway through?
Every minute of every day, of course.
Every minute, good. Okay.
Cash is king. I don't care what your business model is. If you don't have cash, the music stops pretty quickly, right? So look, I think about this as as I said, kind of an arbitrage opportunity. There's a time play here where what we're doing is creating a system that can support the ability to distribute insurance products online for the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years. And for that service, much like the way that the insurance industry works today, we take a piece of that premium that goes through the system. So like a payment gateway, et cetera. But the interesting thing about the insurance market is it's built on a recurring revenue model. So you get people renewing their insurance because they need it next year as well. So what we get is these really long-term, long-tail recurring revenue streams through our business model, which means that rather than me taking money today for building something for these clients, the old model, the consulting model, and then charge a license fee, I remove the need for any of that upfront investment, any of that upfront cash out the door, and I partner with my clients to enable their business today, tomorrow, 5 years from now, and we share in that upside. So that does mean that I've got to invest cash today and sell equity to invest in the system today. But what it means is we get this really stable recurring cash flows for many, many years. And that creates an enormous amount of predictability around profitability in the future. And that's where all of the value gets created. So different business model, a slightly different mindset. But definitely what we're finding is the insurance market is not looking to necessarily spend millions of dollars up front on a core system that sits there and then depreciates away, becomes irrelevant almost as soon as it's in there, or becomes legacy as soon as it's in there. They're looking at more innovative ways of getting access to better technology, and we put a business model around that.
Yeah, that whole ability to look at the lifetime consumer value and the annuity-based growth in there. I must admit, at one point in my life, I will build a product, and I've got a lot to learn myself in terms of just that financial modeling, because it genuinely is a different change of mindset. Because if you look at our world, we sell time. That's literally all we have as a product is time. We have crafted some annuity structures in there by having, really good client retention, but it's still a 90-day guarantee, right? Everyone, fundamentally in our world, everyone could cancel their contracts today, and we don't have a business in 90 days' time. So there's a risk and reward in both those models. Hey, Nick, I've chewed up a lot of your time on a Friday afternoon, and I'm sure your Slack and your Jira alerts are going bananas for you, buddy. Thank you so much for sharing your time and insights. Incredibly useful, incredibly exciting. And I'd love to catch up again in a year's time and see how big that crew is. And when you're taking out a few big dogs in market, I reckon you're on a crazy trajectory, my friend.
Todd, thank you very much. This has been great. It's been great working with your team as well. Love to do it again. Appreciate your time.
Champion. Good stuff. All right, team, we will love you and leave you. We're going to be back with Chill next week. I think we're doing 2 next week. We've got a interesting live audit session where we've invited a few non-clients to come on board. And Jason and Vincent from the Australian team are going to rip into people's sites and give some real, true, actionable, looking at the code insights for folks to do. So come back for that one. Thank you, Nick. We'll wrap up there.